Congratulations on the new album.
Thanks.
But last time you guys came on, I remember saying to you that in some ways what happened to your band is what the band was supposed to happen to a band, which is that they work a lot and they work and work and work, and no one discovered them. They just worked and built a slow fan base until they became one of the biggest bands in the world. Like it's the prototypical story of what is supposed to happen. Like I think when you guys got so big, there was maybe some people who were like, "Oh, they're a major label band or whatever," but like it actually happened. Like,
wait, when were we ever a major label?
Yeah. But you know what I mean?
No,
like,
I know what you're saying.
You were signed to Roadrunner.
This is the formula. This is how it works.
Yeah, this is the form. Can we listen to a song together? Pop the headphones on, please.
What do we listen to?
Well, we're gonna. It's not Leader of Men, but it's pretty damn close.
Is it one of yours?
Yeah, I figured you wanted to listen to some Newfoundland fiddle music.
Is this the Dardanelles?
This is Dardanelles. Okay, yeah, I figured. Any chance I have to play my Newfoundland fiddle music for
Well, you hear this song, it's my new demo. Check it out.
Whenever you're ready. That's from The State. That's Nickelback and Breathe from 1998. So, Ryan, what goes through your mind when you hear
1988?
that? 1998? 1988 feels like 1988. What goes through your mind when you hear that?
I still love that song in particular. We've had some battles about that song while playing it live.
He wants to play it live all the time.
For me, the feeling of we were really driven by the reaction we got on stage as well. Like we put these things together, we go and show them for people. And we were really big into like, well, how did that feel? How did that symbiosis feel tonight? And that one for me, and that song for me, always just felt like we just lit it up, like collectively. And I think that was back when he was kind of writing, when he was talking about like a little more metaphorically. And I don't know, that for me, that song just, it connected with me, and I still like it. And it's actually kind of nice to still like some of your old songs. Sometimes you go, oh, I could have made that better. I could have done this.
Yeah.
That isn't one of them for me.
My perfectionist brain just hears, because we didn't have a budget. I mean, we had a budget, and it was it was tiny. I just hear, a band. I think so. The State. What, we made that in 2 weeks.
98, yeah, in 2 weeks, yeah.
I think we got up enough money to get 2 weeks of studio time.
Just by touring, just by.
I don't know how borrowed it.
Yeah.
We probably borrowed some money from.
We did. We bought some. We took the bank loan out.
Bank loan, yeah.
That was some.
You did
tough
a short stint as a streetwalker.
I was very unsuccessful at that.
Yeah.
So you put together the cash. You record this album in 2 weeks. That song comes out.
Yep.
That is Leader of Men on that record too.
Yeah. Yes.
And was it Seafox in Vancouver? I heard that was a big radio station for you guys.
It was,
absolutely. And so, is what happens. You start hearing it on that, and you start going like, okay, this is getting, like you said, a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Seafox, like even an album before that, and the demo, our very first demo, we had a song on there called "Fly," and these managers heard this little demo. It was like a 7-song demo. Seven-song demo.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And they went into Seafox and they gave us radio play. They gave us light rotation, which would be like once per night after 6 o'clock was light rotation, I believe. And that was wild. Like I remember where we were.
Mm-hmm.
We were.
That was at Jeff Boyd's
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. All around just gathered around his stereo, like a bunch of just nerds, just like, shut up. Like just exactly how you think it would be. This is it.
11:25.
Yeah.
Great time slot.
Boom! It comes on. Didn't matter because we were there's this something we made,
Right
jackasses,
after Limblifter,
just idiots from Hannah, Alberta, and we made a song, and there it was, and it was on the radio, and I was like, that was it. For me, I was like, we need more of this. This feels amazing.
Yeah,
you just start to feel like a rock star.
But how you remind me, you never could have predicted that, because I mean, like everything you're talking to me about is like, I mean, this is a weird thing to say on the CBC, but like the bands that you were looking up to were other Canadian bands. Yeah. And you said to me, Chad, you were like, listen, I want to play to 2,500 people across Canada for the rest of my life. That was sort of it. That's a nice way to make a living.
Yeah.
So when How You Remind Me happens, which is once in a generation rock song, propels you to this international fame and success. That must have been a bit overwhelming then. Like, that doesn't sound like anything you could have predicted.
No, but
my wife did.
I was ready for the slingshot. Yeah. I was like, pull this thing back as hard as you can and let me go. And I was just like, let's go. I wanted to go so bad, and I wanted to play that the first year. So when How You Remind Me came out, I think we played 220 shows that year. And I was like, more. We went to our Canadian booking agent, Ralph James, and we said, we want you to try and kill us in Canada. Try. We want to go A markets all the way across and B markets all the way back. And it just about killed us. That was a rough one.
Were you on a bus or were you in a van?
Yeah, buses.
Okay.
Buses, trucks, just the whole circus. Just.
And you were working really, really, really hard.
Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to play 44 arenas in Canada?
Very, very challenging.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot of time on the road, and it's not easy, and it's a lot of time in the winter. But talk to me about that again. When do you start to realize that this song is getting bigger than anything you could have anticipated? Like, because there's no that's a magical thing, man.
So
you know?
I had a huge party at my place, and we were going on tour the next day. And so I partied till, I don't know, probably 7 a.m. And whatever girl I was with drove me and dropped me off at the Coliseum in Vancouver. And when she dropped me off, she's like, "What's all this?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." And there was all these buses lined up and all these trucks. And remember getting out that morning? Mm-hmm. We got out. And I'm like, who are all these people? And our tour manager comes over and goes, all those guys over there, that's your lighting crew. I'm like, who's that? Well, that's audio. Well, who's this? That's pyro. Who's the guy standing right behind me? That's your new bodyguard. Like, I was like,
very different from 500-seat clubs that we played
it was just like
in the States the year before.
It was kaboom. And I'm like, where are we go? How big is this tour? It's like, it's the whole world, Chad. I'm like, the whole world? He goes, yeah, and by the way, it's sold out.
Is it overwhelming?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
It got to be, right?
You were there, man.
It got to be overwhelming.
Just like that.
It got to be overwhelming.
Oh.
It got to be like, you're like the dog who caught the car.
Yeah. I have no idea what to do with it.
Like, what do I do now?
Except I think we tried to figure it out pretty quick what to do with it.
Hold on with both hands.
Yeah, and we just, I remember, when we got there, we were always just like when we were earning money on the road, we're like, put it back in the show. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure people are having a great time, so they'll come back and have a great time again. That was the most important thing. Again, was always just like, let's just this way, moving forward. Let's just keep going. Let's not just sit here and tread water. Let's just move forward. Whether it would work or not, it's a whole other thing. But that was the mentality.
Did you say your wife knew that How You Remind Me was going to be a big, massive hit?
I don't know if she knew it was going to be a big, massive hit, but she called it. Yeah, he came over and played it for me at my house. I was in Crescent Beach in kind of Vancouver area. Yeah. And he comes over before we could like send it on our phones and stuff. He could play it on the phone, but it doesn't sound as good. So he just drove over. Here, I got this idea. You did play Too Bad over the phone for me as well, too, but you came over with How You Remind Me. You just grabbed my guitar, started playing just the chorus. You had the idea. And my wife was up. I'm like, it's a good song. My wife's up in the loft. She's like, that's a hit.
Yeah, she was like,
just
hit.
Like that.
That's a hit.
And I'm just like, oh man, well, we'll see. I mean, yeah, we'll work on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
She knew it.
Oh,
Trina knew.
She probably gets mad when I keep bringing that up with her. But she's like, she's got a great ear for music, like a really good ear for music, good instinct too.
You only had the chorus. You had the, it's not like you to say sorry.
No, I think
you had the verse, verse and chorus, but
I had verse and chorus.
The second verse yet or anything. I can't remember if he did or not. It was just a part of the song, but it's enough.
I don't know how much I played of it. I think I had most of the song, and then we got into pre-production with Rick Parasher at Charts rehearsal studio there, and we were upstairs in that room, and then that's where just a little bit of the fine. And then you said, let's flip the chords around at the end and make the chorus just go sort of backwards
Yeah,
almost.
and
So the outro, and then and then the stop hadn't been there before, and the for any your heart worth breaking,
That big
and
one in the
I've
middle.
been wrong. Yeah, then that all kind of came to fruition there, and then we went in and we recorded Silver Side Up in 5 weeks, and we're straight back on the road because we had another 14 months of tour dates already. But wow, then after that we had the tour changed significantly after Silver Side Up came out.
But it must be great to be on stage and have that song to know that it's coming. Like, you know, that everyone in that room is going to freak out at one point when that song comes up, even in those early days.
When you're in non-English speaking countries, you really rely on a few of the big ones. It's like, we better get to a sing along here quick.
Are you worried? Are you like? I've talked to people who've told me that having a really big hit song like that, there's this intense pressure, like, oh, I better have another one. Sure. Because a lot of people only get one, and you ended up having a bunch of them afterwards, and then continued to have them. Did you feel any of that pressure, Chad?
Yeah, but it was just, again, it's self-imposed. It's like, because everyone just says you've got your whole, well, yeah, it's funny. You got your whole life to make your first record, and you've only got like a year and a half to make your second, which wasn't true because we never stopped making records.
Yeah, and you had made a bunch of records.
We got
before
signed on
Silver Side Up,
on the third one, but you know, and off we went. But yeah, I just think that it was like I knew the level it had to be at, because at the same time, so How You Remind Me comes out, and like, I don't even know how much longer. I think How You Remind Me was sitting at the top of the charts somewhere, and then Hero came out.
Right.
And then that went like right behind it, and that was released by Columbia for the Spider-Man soundtrack. And then as a band, we released Too Bad. How You Remind Me is on its way down, still in the top 10. Too Bad is just entering the top 10, and Hero is right in the middle. So there was a lot of Chad on the radio at one point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think to yourself, okay, I gotta keep this going. I gotta keep this fire.
We weren't even on the, I mean, when it came to, and then the first rock single off the next album is, you know, I Like Your Pants Around Your Feet is how that one starts off. It's called Figured You Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Photograph on that record too?
No, that's the next record.
The record after that.
Yeah.
And that blows up.
Yeah, Someday was on the
Someday, Figured You Out.
on the Long Road.
And
That
then-
was a big single. Yeah.
And then with All the Right Reasons, it was Photograph, Animals, Far Away, If Everyone Cared,
Saving Me.
Rockstar. There's 6 singles on that record. That was a big tour. That was like, that's Forget What Your House Looks Like tour. Yeah.
How are you with the parodies? Photograph got parodied a lot online.
Well, see, the thing is, we can take any of them we want down because it's our music. It belongs to us. So we have the ability to pull them down.
Yeah.
So we leave them up because we think they're funny.
So you like them?
Sure.
I mean, that has to be an interesting feeling, right? To have someone do like a parody of your song.
You know,
Look at that Instagram one that has like 9 million views.
graph. Look at this graph.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's my favorite one.
So I'm like, for those of you born in this era, this next song is called "Look at This Graph," and the place just starts laughing. Everything. For everyone else, this is Photograph. You know, we'd love to hear you guys singing along, kind of thing. And we go into the tune, but it's like that sort of thing because it takes on a life of its own. You know, and no one makes fun of this band more than we do. I mean, we are the most self-deprecating 4 individuals you could ever possibly meet. And the notion that we take ourselves seriously is absolutely ludicrous. Come on. We've been talking for 30 minutes and you know.
Unless it's a heartfelt love song.
I'm a
then we're very,
goofball.
very
Yeah.
serious about that.
Yeah, we get into Far Away and it's, you know.
Is that how you stayed together for so long? Having that
Taking
sense
the piss
about
out of each other.
Yeah.
I think is how you do it. Yeah. Honestly.
A lot of
it's
bands
like-
don't make it this long, right?
Yeah, it's a nice check and balance system for sure. Like on a lot of levels for all of us. It's like it's nice to have people that know you, and because you can get to a position where it, like I've said before, you can get a lot of sycophants in this business, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And if you're a solo artist, it's tough to have people around you that you trust that will say no, or say not a good idea, or maybe you should consider this. But in our band, we all respect each other, but we're also pretty frank with each other if we have to be. And at the end of whatever the conversation is like you got to walk away like being okay with it. Like we got to be okay with this thing. So it's nothing's trying to attack anybody or whatnot, but it is, I like the check and balances with these things.
Why weren't you guys frank with me when I started straightening my hair? I could have used a little bit of frankness.
It was a sensitive topic, and you know what?
I could have used a bro.
Do you know what's funny?
Bro, dude, no.
I know, but you know what? I've always thought it's like I don't want him telling me anything about how I dress or my hair. That was a big
is Shell
thing.
laughing so hard?
I forgot that you straightened your hair there for a while. I forgot about
I've
that.
had a million different stupid hairstyles and just like tried it all to the point where I was just like, I'm just gonna cut it off. As soon as all the hipsters started growing their hair long, I was like, nope, I'm good.
Why do you think the band has stayed together this long?
We're too dumb to do anything else.
Partially true.
Partially.
Not 100% true.
Ryan's like, on Chad's behalf. No, because this is the best job in the world. Why do we want to screw this up?
Yeah.
Let's keep this going as long as we can.
People do. People screw it up.
I'm aware. We've all seen behind the music. We've all seen the VH1 specials where it's like, and then everything went to shit.
Egos and drugs and booze, like all that stuff's like just it's a trap.
You leave the booze out of this.
And you do the best to mitigate all this stuff as best you can. And because it's like this, it's a trope for a reason. It's just like it is. It's like that's what the story of rock stars.
Daddy's on the drink again.
Daddy's on the drink
Well,
again.
but it's like the
again.
sense I get off of you is that I've never seen I don't know many bands who are this self-aware. Like you know exactly what Nickelback is. You know exactly what Nickelback is, and you're proud of it. And this is what we are. You have a great sense of self in this band, and I really love it. You know, like you said, you're not trying to be. You're not allowing trends to influence you. You're not allowing. You're not allowing egos to get in the way.
No, let's just be honest here. We've never been cool. We've never been mistaken for cool.
But you know what I mean? Like you have, what I mean by that is that you have a real sense of yourself. You have a real sense of exactly what the band, I mean that in a really respectful way, actually, you know?
I appreciate that. I do think that for sure lends itself to longevity in the sense of it being self-aware for sure, because let's be honest, this is all pretend. This is all make-believe, all pretend. And I keep that pretty clear in my head that's what it is.
This is all kind of silly.
It's I don't know if silly is what it is, but it's make-believe. Like this is all make-believe. We're just making up songs and people are either liking it or not. But that's, again, not to sound weird, but it's like that. It's the connection when you play with people. Or play for people. That's what's real. You feel that. You go out there and people are singing the songs to you. That's real part. But the fame and the stature of a band or wherever they're at, it's all pretend. And I'm enjoying playing pretend at this moment. So
See, at the end of the day,
like Ukraine isn't pretend right now.
that's not pretend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So-
So if you get paid $100 million to take a round ball and throw it at a hoop and try and get it in, that's pretend.
If you pay for 175, if you get paid like $11 billion, play How
billion.
You Remind Me. In
That's
Rio,
pretend.
It's pretend.
Yeah, if you get paid $100 million to put a puck in a net, that's pretend. You'd be playing that game whether or not those people gave you the money. And I don't want to pull the curtain back too far here, but we would be doing the same thing for free.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Can we edit this out?
You just heard a lot of promoters in Canada go like,
like, we would.
Now, can we renegotiate, please?
Now, at this stage, I think we'd just be doing it on the weekends.
It's funny to see that last time you were come on, we did a big chunk of, it was your first time on CBC, I think, and we did a big chunk on the criticism you guys have gotten over the years. You guys brought it up. It was like a really lovely open conversation. But like you said, there's a softening. My feeling is that the criticism is actually not as big as people think it is because it's just on the internet, and the internet doesn't, speaking of pretend. But
Twitter isn't real.
But now you're being inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. You are.
That's real. That's legit, by the way.
But it is kind of real. Like, it is kind of real. And it does sort of pop the imposter syndrome bubble, which gives me the rare opportunity to ask you, when you look back on this band at this stage, I'm going to ask each of you, what are you most proud of? Chad deflecting to Ryan first.
I know, isn't that right? Here's play-by-play. I like this.
No, wasn't deflecting at all. I was before you get the goofball.
What are we most?
Give us
What
the
are we
serious-
most?
No, let's get the goofball answer for no.
I don't think you're going to give me a goofball answer.
No, I'm not. I'm in a great mood though. In case you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I love
I'm
it.
having the time of my life.
Yeah.
Dead sober right now, by the way. Sorry for missing the last interview.
Oh, I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up.
Oof, I was partying that night. We
Yeah,
partied.
that's all right. These things happen.
So
Happened with Margaret Atwood too. Yeah.
So, to be able to do this, for a living, and not just do this for a living, but like to get to call this my career, that is just an absolute pleasure. To be able to, get on stage with 3 other humans that I adore and cherish is an absolute honor. And to see if we can just keep this going as long as we possibly can, and we get to decide when we pull the plug. That's what keeps us going, keeps me going.
That's his answer. That's a good answer.
He would like to echo my sentiment.
Yeah, no, that's all true. I don't know. You asked the toughest.
Say something
You
nice
asked the
about me.
toughest questions. I know. I can't. It's no, but thinking largely about it too. It's, I guess, selfishly. I'm not gonna speak about it right now, but selfishly, it's like when you do things and things like mostly go right. I think for me I learn the most obviously when things kind of go wrong. You learn bits and pieces about you, and which things have definitely gone wrong at moments. But that things have mostly gone right kind of makes you feel like you kind of, when you trust your gut in a lot of things in life, and that can be in anything that you're doing, that just maybe you're on the right path, and maybe this is worth it. Maybe this is, more than just, one right decision or one wrong decision. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense to you, but it's like there's satisfaction in that for me.
There's validation in the choices that you made.
Self-validation in the sense where it's just like, yeah, maybe you're okay to trust yourself in what you're doing. And I try to instill that with my kids, where it's just like, you don't have to have the pomp and circumstance of these, because they like the music business. They like whatever business they're going into. And it's just like, you just have to be satisfied. In the sense of like Jen, not just satisfied, but like just happy and content with the choices you make.
Right.
And I feel like the choices we made kind of led us here. Some very very windy road, but man, it's satisfying. I think to feel like I'm okay with where we're at.
Am I wrong that it's been a while since you guys have put out a record?
5 years.
5 years, yeah. 2017.
Is there anything in particular that feels like a longer break than most, right?
Yeah. Pure laziness at some point.
The world also hit the pause button, so we had help with that.
Well,
laziness.
The last gig we did for the Feed the Machine tour was in October of 2019. We did Rock and Rio, and so it was kind of timed with obviously it's holiday season, so we were kind of slowing things down at that point to kind of get together, reconvene after that, and then this is when this all happened, this COVID thing. And then we were supposed to do a All the Right Reasons tour. We were going to do the album cover to cover June of 2020. So we had plans to go out again, but we didn't have new material necessarily. And then that got waylaid, and we didn't get a chance to do that, obviously. And then again, we just kind of were treading water, it felt like, for a while, until we started seeing, like, everybody's like, we're so prolific in this pause, this cultural pause or pandemic pause. And
everyone else is on their third pandemic record.
We're like, God, we got to
get.
I think the All the Right Reasons was because the tour was because we didn't have new material, so that was like, this is a good time to actually start. So yeah, we finally got into the.
But is it like, is there a bat signal that comes up? Like, is it, how do you decide? Do you all have to be in the same room? Do you-
Self-imposed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put up our own bat signal. No, it was an overwhelming sense of, when it's a beautiful sunny day outside and you're still indoors doing nothing, and you haven't, and it's been a horrible winter or whatever it is, and you just, that guilt sets in.
Yeah.
You're like, I should probably go outside.
Yeah.
It was that, like, we should probably make a record.
Yeah.
It got to that
and then
point,
we kind of text back and forth. We're like, let's start sifting through the
Anything good in here?
riffs.
Oh, one of the greatest water you've ever had in your life.
Oh my God.
Best vintage?
Best vintage water.
Good.
Yeah, it's
Straight from St. John's.
straight from St. John's.
Yeah.
But the harbors are kind of gross.
Little salty and oily.
Yeah, little salty, little oily. Is there?
Is that hydraulic fluid?
Is it a little different when you? I mean, how do I put this? Is it a little bit different when there's so many people involved? Like, I was just thinking, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame a little bit later, but it makes me think about how you guys started, which was like when you wanted to record something, 4 of you would get together in a garage, probably.
No, if we wanted to record something, we would have to save up enough money, borrow it from family members, steal it. Not so much you, but more this guy.
Steal it?
No,
No, it's embellishment.
minor embellishment.
Borrow it.
Borrow
I
it.
understand.
Long-term loan, never to be paid.
But you'd have to really scrimp and save in order
Yeah,
to make a
because
recording.
studios looked like that. With an engineer that looked like that.
Right.
And those aren't cheap.
You're not cheap.
You're
just
not
so
cheap.
you know. He's like, you
cheap at
tell
all.
these guys that.
He's like, go, brother, go.
So you'd have to scrimp and save and try to put something
Yeah.
together. But I think what I'm curious about is like the thing I think that people don't understand about bands of your size is that it's not just the 4 of you anymore. And it's not even just the 4 of you and a manager and the 4 of you and a booking agent. You have like salaried people. You have like people who have probably put kids in school based on working for Nickelback their entire lives, Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard
they are
people,
gainfully employed by us.
does that change the
Very
pressure of
weird
like
sentiment.
Does that change anything? Does that change the process, like the release schedule? Does that change the pressure? Or like we got to get together? There's people relying on us.
It's a consideration for sure, as part of the business consideration, and just part of, and especially over. I mean, not to keep bringing that up, but over this COVID period where there was like question marks about what you're going to do. We could weather the storm, but we had a lot of people with us that were like, "What's going to happen?" We made sure we took care of everybody until. That was a major consideration of what we did.
Right. Make sure that everyone who works for you is taken care of during the pandemic.
No, it is a thing you consider, and it's part of the business part, which is always the non-sexy part of this thing. But we pride ourselves.
Wait, there's
in,
a sexy part to this?
Yeah, there is.
You're in it.
The music is so sexy. Those prison songs, man, they really get us going.
Sure, but the business part is the unsexy part of it for sure.
Exactly, but it's really important to us. That's important to me to uphold what we've agreed upon and who we've had this whole time. My guitar tech is the same guy we convinced to drive the van for us in '96.
Boy, did we ever!
And he's amazing, and it's like as are a bunch of other crew, and it's like you just that they're part of family, so you got to consider this kind of stuff. So absolutely, we had and lots of even I don't know if you call them tertiary kind of employees on the outskirts. So you want to make sure
I'm a
are taken
tertiary
care of.
employee.
Yes, you are.
This company.
You are paid as such.
No benefits.
Paid as such.
But you know what I mean. That like when you put out a record, there's more to it than just putting out a record. And there's the hiatuses are longer for people who aren't.
We spend more time talking about the record than we do making the record.
Really.
Yeah, just it's just press tours and just like it's this. I spend more time,
It's almost all
kibitzing
consuming.
it's all consuming. At least when we make a record, it's when we want to make a record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interview started today at 9. That's not very rock and roll. Oh, on camera, 9 bells.
You know
boom, morning show, bang. Next morning show, boom.
We're 3
third morning
p.m.
show.
We're pretty easy.
No,
on
you
here.
guys
This is
great.
lax.
Yeah, this is pretty.
Why do you
chill.
think we always say yes to Tom?
Yeah, it's a heavy record, and we were talking about this in the office. That I wonder if Nickelback are a heavier band than you get credit for. Like
What did everyone else in the office say?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that I think that like if you go by some of the singles that we would know, like you guys are a little bit more actually kind of metal than people know. Like there are songs on this record that feel like Metallica to me.
We've been far heavier than anything on this record, but for some reason, with the initial tease that was put out there by them,
The label,
the
the people.
powers that be.
Yeah.
They gave this little tease, and it does the
Heavy.
and everyone's like, ooh. And that's the little teaser that went out there. It's like Nickelback, whatever, it's our little trailer thing. Everyone's like, oh, they're heavy. Oh, this is going to be a heavy record. The record is just, this balanced record, just like all the rest of them. The heaviest record we ever did was the last record, and nobody talked about it. We didn't talk about
That
it.
timing, that's a perfect example of timing as well. Like just when I feel people are ready, there's a softening on us, and people are ready to hear us again, which is great. I think
There's
it's
a what? A
fantastic.
softening on us?
I call it a softening, like the teeth are going away. If I feel like, but what you said before, I find interesting, and it's a bit divisive, I think, or a bit controversial in that arena when you said it feels a bit metal to a degree. I've had this kind of epiphany about, and speaking as a metal listener, I grew up listening to metal.
Share epiphanies.
Yeah, you like now? We got to have them. They're exclusive now.
One light bulb between the two of us.
You grew up listening to Metallica and
I grew up initially with pop, and then when I started playing guitar, it was metal, just Anthrax and Testament, and like lots of, and I loved metal growing up, and then Blue Rodeo, and like you start to branch out from there. But what I just find interesting, and it was just more of an observation, is that if you say, okay, they've gone a bit, this sounds a bit metal, I could just hear all the metalheads just getting up like,
Flexing.
Are you kidding me?
Chin
Are you
up,
kidding me?
little flex.
Because I come from that initially.
metal.
I understand there's some kind of protective nature in the metal audience. And it's weird because if we play a rock song, like a really heavy rock song, to an audience that likes the more melodic stuff, they're kind of taken aback, maybe not expecting it, but they'll still, like live especially, they're like, oh, they'll get it, and they'll be accepting, or they'll just go, oh, maybe not for me. Metalheads will be just like, they're not metal, other than just drag you through the mud for even suggesting that.
Right. Sure.
It's really interesting. They're really protective of their genre. And if you dip your toe in there without fully being metal, you're just going to get tore up. Which, I mean, it's neither here nor there if you don't read the comics. But it's really interesting.
I mean, but it is the story of Nickelback to me in some ways, that like you are susceptible to people talking about you, but you keep your head down and make the music that you want to make.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Absolutely.
you are susceptible to metalheads or to pop people. I mean, I even hear, and I'm glad you don't lunge, I hear like a country influence on this record. There are songs on this record that feel like country songs to me.
All over the map.
But am I right about the country thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a country rock tune on there, a stoner country rock. Yeah, it's like it's about getting in a van in like the 70s and going across, whatever country it might be, Canada, America, whatever it is, and going from city to city, festival to festival, and picking up hitchhikers along the way, and every time you open the side doors of the van, it's just massive clouds of wonderful smelling smoke come out the side. That's the movie in my head.
But is that intentional though to try? Because you guys are also playing Boots and Hearts, which is like a kind of a country music festival.
That kind of came up after
That
yeah.
just popped up.
Oh, see, I was in here
afterthought.
wondering. Oh, are Nickelback?
No, that wasn't calculated.
No.
Oh, not that you are pivoting.
We're
but
not
that,
pivoting.
But that
No.
you are
No, Boots
allowing yourselves to
they're
write different
pivoting.
kinds of.
Yes.
They're pivoting to allow a rock band into a country festival. But it's like this.
No, we are as well. I agree. Like he's right, but I was like, for me, I was like,
we played a funk.
Not so sure.
We played a funk song called "She Keeps Me Up." Are we pivoting? Like, that's
No.
But Ryan, you're saying there is. You were you were chin scratching
Yeah.
a little bit about country music on this record.
Well, more so about the look of what you were speaking of Boots and Hearts Festival, just because I didn't know how the match was going to be. But as far as that song is, he played me that song. You played it before we even kind of got together. You had that early in the stage. I always gauge this by pandemic.
that was earlier.
Yeah, and I was like, that sounds great for Merrick Mountain Music Fest out in BC. I said, it's a very good country song. It felt really country. And he's like, well, he's malleable. These songs, we always kind of like pull and twist and do what we have to do with these songs.
For me, it always just comes down to like a song's a song.
Yeah.
Photographs a country song.
Those days on this record feels like a country song.
Rockstar feels
Really?
like a country song.
Yeah.
Those days does not feel like a country song to me at all.
Really, I heard it
not
as sort
at
of like a country Bob Seger-y kind of looking back nostalgic song.
Oh, I'll take that. That's cool.
But you know what I mean?
I'll take all those things. Yeah,
I do. The chord structure in the acoustic at the beginning, I can see how you can kind of feel that
Acoustic
for
at
sure.
the beginning and all that.
But it's and sometimes they're unconscious, but
I think we're full Def Leppard in the chorus and full Bon Jovi in the outro.
I went full hairband at the end. I was just
Full hairband.
like, we need some
yeah.
woes at the end.
Though maybe it speaks more to what country has become. The country has like brought
maybe.
in rock and to itself more than you guys going towards it. You know,
I think that's possible too.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely do. That one didn't feel as much derivative of that. I mean, like all music, when we put it out there, it's how do you take this? It's like I'm open to interpretation. It's fine.
Yeah.
High Time at the beginning felt a little too country, and I was like, I kept thinking if we can get this in the vein of up on Cripple Creek or something, the band song with that clav going, I'm just like that kind of gritted it up for me a bit.
Well, if the Eagles came out right now, they would be country. They'd be called country. But
Sure.
the Eagles is like a folk. They're like a folk country rock band.
Yeah.
But
If Leonard Skinner came out right now, they'd be country.
absolutely,
Yeah.
That's bro country right there.
Yeah.
Like 1,000,000%. But you know, we like to put our things in our little boxes in our minds. Like we want to compartmentalize everything, just like that goes here and that goes there and this goes here. But it's like Ryan says. I mean, everyone's going to have a different. I definitely get the vibe with High Time. A bit of a left turn for those days for me, because I don't get that. But
Right.
like I said, Photograph's pretty much a country tune with a heavy chorus.
How do you mean?
The vibe.
Where's that guitar? Where's that guitar?
I think it's in tune.
That would be a first for me then. No, but if you're sitting here, it's like you get the pretty good tune-ish. Oh, tune-ish.
Well, that sounds like Nickelback.
It sounds very. Look at the action on this thing.
Yeah, it's been sitting here in a dry studio during the pandemic for 3 years.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. The action's this far off.
I could see it from here. It's all good.
So show me.
Hear the. Look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. You know, that's so country. And then you know, I'm through with the whole rock star. I'm through. Where my key man? I'm through with standing. I might as well have sang it with a twang. I'm through with standing in line. The Cubs will never get in. It's like bottom of the ninth, and I'm never gonna win.
I think you kind of did.
I damn near am.
I think you kind of did.
Like I damn near am singing the song with a country twang. I mean, those two tunes to me. Well, I mean, I think they played. They absolutely just censored the complete dog shit out of Rockstar and played it on CMT. The video was played on CMT thousands of times.
How did you feel about that?
My music's getting out there. I don't care how it gets out there. I don't care what medium gets used, but like we wrote tunes. There's no snobbery at this band. I didn't write songs to sit there and go, no. Those human beings over there on this same planet, they're not allowed to hear this music. Like, I don't get that snobbery. That is just so arrogant. I don't get that. No, this music is just made for these people, and they have to be like-minded people. Otherwise, you don't get to hear it.
How do you do that in your writing? Like, how do you keep all that noise out when you get to a level where your records are selling this many records? Like, when there's this many people relying on you, how do you keep all that stuff out of your mind?
Kid from a small town. Just a kid from a small town that wound up getting lucky with some verses and choruses and being in a band that shouldn't even be called a band. It should be called a family with four guys that love each other deeply. And that's where it all comes from. There's just no snootiness, no snobbery, just small town vibe.
How do you keep that? Like we all know
it's
people
ingrained.
We all know people who started out in bands,
Yeah.
in garages, and they get to a certain point and they lose touch with that thing.
And then they change their name to something.
Or they lose touch with that. They're unable to write about that stuff anymore, or the money sets in, or the other stuff sets in, the pressure sets in. I mean, it's not. I'm in all seriousness. That stuff happens.
No,
We couldn't just go 20 proof with
No,
this?
100% it does. Like I believe that it's I don't know, man. It's like for sure. I always thought, if you find success in this business, there's commercial success and monetary success. It amplifies what's already there. I mean, you've probably heard that thing. That's my experience with that.
It amplifies what's already there.
I think
whatever's inside of you will come out. There'll be more of it.
I think so, because it's an enabler. Like all this, like fame and money are an enabler, and to a degree, it can be a tool, and it's great in that sense, whether it's inspiration or whether it's facilitating something.
Yeah.
But it also can be like a disease. It really can be. And to that as well, if you start seeing success and you see it wane a bit, you might start chasing things that you really have no business. Like that's not at the core of who you are, but you start chasing trends. Or you start, the worst thing, and I hate to, is the idea of like playing goalie. You're playing goalie. You're not playing to win, you're playing to not lose, right? And there is a big difference with that, right?
You're playing goalie, meaning that you're being safe. You're
You're kind of just, you're protecting kind of what you've got instead of, stretching your creative muscle or desire this way or that way. I think of that lots. I think of the whole thing. Are you playing to win? Or are you playing to not lose? Because that there's a real big difference there. Because it's easy to go, we've got it, and people love this stuff, like they like this. This is good. Let's just stay here. And sometimes you gotta do what's honest with what's coming out of you. We chase whatever comes out. You just chase that.
Does that explain how it happened? I mean, you just told me your last gig before the pandemic was Rock in Rio. How many people is that?
That one was 120,000.
So that's 120,000 people. Whenever I see you guys play to shows like that, I can't even fathom what it's like to be on stage in front of that many people.
We did it, and I can't fathom it.
Yeah,
you can only see
this time. You can
only see the first 80 rows of humans, and then after that, it's just like it doesn't even make sense. Like it doesn't compute to the human brain. All of those humans in one place at one time, and it's like.
It's such a spectacle.
It is just wild.
I see the first 3 rows, and I see the guy ziplining across in front of us, back and forth. The whole show. It's a crazy spectacle.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So how do you account for it? How do you account for small town band, Hannah, Alberta, going to end up playing 175,000?
I can't.
Really?
I have no explanation.
You must have something. You must have something.
I think we work hard, and we write the tunes that we like. And we get out there and we tour them, and that's it.
It's connecting with people. It doesn't matter. I think that's the like you says, the small town kind of scenario where we grew up, and you do what you do, but you try to connect with people, right? I think that as the human condition goes, when you relate that way, it doesn't matter what language, doesn't matter anything in that sense. It's like when it's the country of music. Like people take that and they take it and they run with it, and if they like it, we'll go that way.
And you're saying the people who listen to your records, they feel like you. They feel close to you. They feel like they're,
I think so. Or they feel like you're telling my story, as a lot of artists say. Obviously, they find some kind of connection, as I still do with music. When I hear something that just hits me, I just grab onto it, and it's like my daughter introduced me to Phoebe Bridgers' music, and I hadn't really listened to it much before. I'm like, holy crap. There's one of those stories that almost brings me to tears. I think it's got a song called "Funeral," and it's so heavy.
It sounds light and bright.
No, but what I love about it too,
by title alone,
it's a dark sounding like content, but the music isn't. I like those kind of
juxtaposition.
Yeah, I think those are kind of interesting, and so I like that it can still do that to you today. I think that helps as well, where you still love music, you still find that connection, and you hope that when you throw some music out there, it connects with somebody else.
You mentioned the great softening that's been happening with Nickelback. It's interesting to see you say it that way, but I was
the era. There was the Great Depression,
the
great softening.
Yeah. I was
low pressure system coming.
I was surprised that you weren't already in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. We just found out that you're being inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame.
We are
at the Junos in Edmonton.
Someone came up with a kooky idea.
Yeah. What does that mean to you, Chad?
Undeserved. I just keep saying I feel like. We're not seasoned enough to be there yet. I feel like that's for the really good artists.
You guys are one of the best-selling Canadian acts in history.
Yeah, selling is just one thing. I mean, sales is, but again, I just don't feel like, you see these legendary lifetime artists. Maybe it's just an age thing. I think you're supposed to be sort of 60 when you get it. So, I'm not sure what it is about the whole thing. It's you do feel like an imposter. You feel like like you've just sort of faked your way here, and you have no reason. You just do not deserve to be there.
Chad, that's really interesting to me. You can tell, right? Like that you are in one of the best-selling bands of all time, that you have at least 2 or 3 songs that I think will be played forever.
Oh, you were expecting an answer like, "About time."
I wasn't expecting I don't deserve it, and I feel like an imposter when you have 175,000 people showing up to you in a different continent.
Yeah, it's weird.
Wait,
it just went to 175. Keep the story
keep
going.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why, but I can kind of compare it in my head. If I hear like, okay, the Tragically Hip is inducted in the Hall of Fame, I'm like, of course.
Yes. Makes sense.
Makes sense. When I hear our name,
Yeah.
it's hard to wrap your head around. It really is. It's like I instantly kind of head scratch for a second. I'm like, I mean, I like that someone suggested it and people feel that way. It's extremely flattering. It's amazing, but I still have to. It's hard to answer that question. I really have to wrap my head around it. It's, again, just absolutely amazing and flattering that, especially in Canada. It really does mean a lot to us in Canada. So it's sinking in still.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard to talk about, but I think it is interesting. Like, it's worth exploring.
Sure.
Me, the idea that, because I think it's like inspiring too. That like for people who are in bands now or starting out, to know that like, sorry, I don't know why I find this inspiring, but maybe because I relate to it. That no matter what happens, you can still feel like an imposter. Like no matter what happens, you can still feel like you don't deserve any of this stuff.
I feel like, if you're standing there getting an Oscar, unless you're Meryl Streep, I'll bet you 3/4 of them feel like imposters, because they're just playing a role to get that trophy. But that trophy is an accolade that is so sought after, by everyone else in your profession, and you got one. So when you're standing there, it's just like, what? Like, why are we getting this? When we just look around and we're just sort of like, shouldn't they get one?
Right.
Like before us. It is really difficult to wrap your head around. It's hard.
What was the goal when you started? Was the goal to have this sort of long career?
When we started this band,
Yeah.
all we needed
I'm not quoting this. You go ahead.
was some laughs. Years gone by, I'd say we'd kick some ass.
All right. Yeah.
There we go.
I got it. Yeah, good.
No, but not much more than that. I mean, as dumb as that sounds. I mean, obviously, I'm quoting a Motley Crue song, which is hilarious in my mind. But
That's funny.
because the inner me is just pissing himself laughing right now.
Do you think? Do you think people like? I'm curious. Do you think bands that like go, I'm going to make it to the Hall of Fame?
No, but I think bands go, I've talked to people who have gone, I don't want this to be a summer. I don't want this to be a couple of weeks. I don't want this to be a couple of months. I want this to be my career.
Yeah.
I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Everybody wants the dream job to be more than the summer, more than, just that year. Our cousin, Brandon, Brandon's dad came to him at one point and was just like, come on, like, you've had enough fun with the band. It's great. You guys have toured around, lots of flat tires, lots of help from home, enough craft dinner. Why don't you come work for me? Start a family. And he bought in and checked out, left the band. And
That's hard for you?
at the time it was. I think it's hard for him as well.
Yeah.
Knowing that if he'd have stuck around one more year, we got signed and away we went.
Yeah.
But life works the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing there is also that there were no guarantees back then.
No.
There was no.
There's never. So you've got a dad who's got a good straight job.
Yeah.
This is a solid family core. Mom and dad still together.
Yeah.
And they're doing investments in life insurance and whatnot. And so then it was like his job is to make sure that his kid's going to be okay.
Yeah, of course.
You're not going to watch him starve for a couple of years in the band and not step in and be like, oh, I should just give the kid a job and, he should eat 3 squares a day.
Well, what kept you going? Like, what kept you going when you were starving and eating craft dinner? And
Because for me, there was no safety net. And once I started going across that tightrope, there was also no way back. The only way was to get to the other side. and I was dragging him and
we
my
didn't
brother
know-
kicking and
we didn't-
screaming.
We didn't know what the other side really was. It was
No?
just, we just got to go this way. We can't go this way. At that point in my career life, I had nothing to lose. That was a big part of it.
That's a powerful thing. Hey?
It really is.
Yeah.
That's the like I'm yeah.
If you
We
don't
can
keep
start
swimming,
again.
you're going to die.
Yeah. And
You have to keep swimming.
but you know what was motivating, and just to be brief, just so we don't beat this to death, but it was always something. There was always something good for us around the corner, a little bit better than the last thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we know the trajectory was going like this. We weren't like treading water. We weren't sliding backwards. There was always, oh, this gig's
Another
coming up.
gig.
It's a bit better. They offered a little bit more money, so now we can pay for gas instead of going into
Which is
pocket.
always
Or
nice.
something, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it. And for me, when he came up with Leader of Men, which is before we even recorded, it was after our Curb and State full length album. When I heard that song, I was just like, there's lots of potential here.
Well, congratulations in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. I think you're very well deserving of it.
Thank you.
thank you,
I appreciate
sir.
that.
Thanks for coming in.